Hey guys, this time on Classic Reviews, we're going to be looking at The Last Airbender. The Last Airbender was directed by M. Night Shyamalan and is based off of the animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender and is considered to be one of the worst films of all time. If you're new to my channel or have been watching my channel for the past year, you'll know that I have been reviewing the Avatar series, Avatar: The Last Airbender earlier on in the year, and then most recently, The Legend of Korra, and I both love these series to death, especially Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is one of my favorite animated shows of all time. So I was really interested in finally sitting down and watching this film, just knowing the reputation of this film, and giving my full thoughts on it, since this is the first time I've actually sat down and watched this film, and I just wanted to give my thoughts. So anyway, let's get started. Now, first off, I do want to get some of the easy stuff out of the way. Now, in terms of an adaptation, this movie is complete trash. It has so many problems with it, from the characters not looking like how they do in the show, from also the fact that they say their names wrong, to the way bending works, and just how much of a poor adaptation this is, and how much they just cut out and stuff. And that's not what this channel is about. I don't really delve deep into why adaptations are wrong, what they get wrong, and honestly, I don't really care. Even though I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, the series, the fact that this movie doesn't follow it very well, it does make me a little upset as a fan of that series, but I need to look at this as a movie because I have the belief that adaptations owe nothing to their source material. You can change plenty of things in an adaptation, and sometimes it can work to your benefit. Sometimes you might get something out of it that you wouldn't have gotten out of just adapting it 100%. And so I want to just get that out of the way. I'm not going to talk about adaptation because plenty of people have talked about it, and there is a lot wrong there. But I want to talk about this as a movie, and as a movie, this really does suck, guys. There is so much wrong with this movie, starting off with both the acting and the writing. M. Night Shyamalan directed and wrote this. He has not had much of a track record in the previous years, especially after movies such as The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs. After that, he kind of started not being that great of a director, kind of making some terrible decisions in the writing department, and that continues on here. The dialogue is incredibly stilted, filled with just simple sentences, and just people don't talk like this, and just the way people talk in this movie is atrocious. The dialogue is absolutely atrocious, and I won't lie, it's kind of funny. Especially when you bring in the acting in this movie, which is just as bad as the writing itself. Not only do you have bad writing, but you have bad acting by actors that have proven that they can be pretty good. Like, I'm talking mainly about more the adult actors. There's other actors like Jackson Rathbone, who's not a great actor to begin with, but he is an extremely over-the-top actor, and honestly, like, his stuff as Sokka in this film was absolutely hilarious, watching him try to act through this terrible dialogue. I got a couple of laughs out of me through this film, which really helped through the entire film. But yes, dialogue and acting right off the bat is absolute garbage, and it's sad that it is due to the direction of the film given by M. Night Shyamalan, who, I don't know what happened to him, because he has proven himself to be a pretty good director, but here, it just doesn't work at all. Also, the pace of this film is so insane. Just the story decisions are completely weird. Like the fact that they don't ask who Aang's name is, or Ong in the movie. They don't ask his name until like 20 minutes in the movie, and it's so weird and bizarre, and just there's so much stuff wrong, and also just as I said, the pacing is really weird. This movie goes really, really fast through stuff, and also is just extremely slow too. This is a very boring film, and it's crazy because it's a bad movie that has the potential to be something that's so bad it's entertaining, but it's just too boring for that, and that's what's really disappointing. What's disappointing is a bad movie that you can't be entertained by really at all. Also, the fact that the movie, I've watched the series. I know how the first season is because, like, this movie is adapted from the first season. I can't tell you what happened in this movie. Like, it is so confusing that the movie doesn't make any sense. There is no world building in this film to really help explain stuff. And not to mention that, again, with the dialogue, the movie is just a lot of telling and not showing, which you're supposed to do in a movie. You're supposed to show, not tell. And this movie just tells and tells and tells, especially with the narration of the film by Katara, which is absolutely just balls in this film. She just tells you what they're thinking, and the dialogue is awful, and there's one great moment, not a great moment, but later on in the film where they go to the Northern Water Tribe, and there's the princess, and she's like, my brother and the princess just became best friends and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's all we need. Yeah, they're friends because the movie told me so. We don't get any characterization with them. We don't get anything really with them that shows their bond or connection, and it's just really, really dumb. And that's what this movie is. It's just extremely lame in so many ways. Dialogue, writing, characters, actors, just all of it just is an amalgamation of stuff that just doesn't flow together at all. And I'm going to give M. Night Shyamalan a benefit of a doubt because I looked up with the production of this movie, and the movie was extremely rushed. So, I mean, M. Night Shyamalan wasn't doing too well, like, with movies at this point, but it does feel also that he just was very rushed, and maybe the script, and also just making the movie, and it just panned out horribly because the studio wanted to push this movie out and convert it to 3D and all that stuff, and yeah, it's a travesty, guys. However, there are some good stuff in this film, I will say. Yes, there are. There are some good things with this film. For the most part, the movie looks pretty fine and everything in terms of its cinematography, especially during stuff like near the end, some of the fight scenes. Yeah, it's like in slow-mo, but at least, like you can see what's going on. There's a lot of wide shots and stuff like that. And the CGI with, like, the air bending and stuff is pretty decent and pretty okay and stuff. I do like the final battle of the film. I think that's where the most creative stuff comes in, which kind of works a little bit in the movie's favor, but also what makes the best of it in this film is the music. And the soundtrack for this film is the best part of this film. It is beautiful, honestly, and it makes me wish that this was a better movie because the soundtrack really is really good. I could listen to this in the car. It's that good, and it's just so sad that it's connected to a movie that's just pretty terrible in so many ways. I also like the costuming with the film. I think like the costumes, the sets, and everything, they all look very good, very detailed, except for Penis Hat Guy in the movie. But all the costuming's pretty good. All the sets are beautifully done, especially at the Northern Water Tribe. It's really nice looking at that. It's overall a nice looking movie, but, you know, stuff with, you know, the soundtrack, the look of the film, the costumes, that's only part of the film. And a majority of this film is, of course, the acting and the writing, and it's just awful and brings down the film so much. So really, guys, is this one of the worst films of all time? Not really. It's a very bland, boring film that, yes, as a fan of the series, it's really just annoying and a betrayal of what came before. But as a movie on its own, it's just extremely lame and just doesn't work. In many ways, it's laughably bad, but it's also just extremely boring too, and I'm just gonna probably forget about this movie. Like, there's no reason to just hate on this movie so much, because it's just how uneventful it is and how forgettable it is. Like, I'm literally forgetting what happened in this movie, and I just watched it. I'm gonna give The Last Airbender a 3 out of 10. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this classic review. I hope you enjoyed me talking about this really terrible movie. I'm sorry I didn't say it was one of the worst films ever made. I just don't think it is, but I think it is a pretty terrible film. If you ever want to watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, watch the show, watch Legend of Korra, and just don't watch this movie. It's not worth your time. It's just a waste of time. It's also just extremely boring. But anyway, guys, that is all I got for you, so I hope you enjoyed this, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.